to the issue of the hour. Alex Hales' removal from the World Cup squad after the revelation that he is serving a 21-day ban, having tested positive for a recreational drug. This was his second offence, but the story only emerged after his county Notts originally stated he was taking time off for personal reasons. Hales has since said via his management that he is devastated by the ECB's decision, and there are questions about the timing of the call and the issue of player welfare. What is certain though, Butch, is that England's World Cup prep has hit a major bump in the road.
Yes. Listen, for the ECB to come out looking worse than a player who has been involved in a fight outside a nightclub and has failed his second drug test for recreational drug use takes some doing. And they have managed it. In fact, they've done it so easily. It's a little bit like Usain Bolt celebrating with 50 metres to go in the 100. My feeling on Hales' ban is that it was the only course of action that could have been taken, but should have been taken from the moment that
this
he
is
failed
to
the
remove
test,
him from the
to remove him from the squad. Not through any sort of high moral take on the rights and wrongs of taking recreational drugs, but for crying out loud, has England not had enough problems with behavioural issues over the last since the last Ashes series, since before the last away Ashes series, I should say? Haven't there been enough statements from senior people in charge at the ECB about the duty that the players have to the badge, to the organisation, to the game, to be whiter than white, to be great role models, etc., etc. And regardless of whatever Alex Hales' mental state may or may not be, given his involvement with the Bristol incident, regardless of whether or not it's a harmless bit of fun at the weekend, this is just beyond the pale, I'm afraid. And but they had no other course of action but to ban him. They really ought to have done it the moment he failed the test, instead of perhaps hoping that it was going to disappear, slip under the radar without anybody finding out what the 21-day ban was for, and then only banning him or going public with the story after the event. I mean, unbelievable goings on. In 3 years since the last World Cup, England have become the best one-day side in the world, the most powerful, perhaps the most feared side in the world. We've had the inevitable injuries. I don't know how many times on pods I've sort of said prior to now that don't worry about it. This is, things will happen because it's a World Cup year. People will get injured. Plans will be thrown into disarray. There'll be the odd worry, but everything will be all right on the night because England have got a lot of very, very good players. Don't worry about it too much. But this, I suppose the only thing to be thankful for really is that it's happened now. The catastrophe has happened with a bit more than a month ago, and that the story didn't sort of stay under wraps until the day before the South Africa game. I tend to try and look at this as well from being the other players in the squad, right? The other 14, 15, 17 players, whatever England have picked for the sort of the Pakistan series. Everybody knows that the pressure at the moment is being ramped up. Every single day you get closer to the World Cup. England are favourites, never won one before. One or two injuries knocking around. Questions: can they translate their amazing form in bilateral series into winning the World Cup? All of those things, right? So already there's enough pressure going on. Already everybody's under the spotlight. Ben Stokes is very unlikely to be seen outside his hotel room beyond 10 o'clock at night, during the whole thing. There is an enormous amount. So all of these guys understand, they get it, they know that they've got a huge summer coming up. Huge summer in terms of the sport, in terms of showing the sport. A great light, isn't it wonderful? Shouldn't everybody get out to play? And so they get it, they know their responsibilities. And you've got this one guy who has decided, for whatever reason, whatever state of mind, or whatever, whether it was an accident, whatever, being tied down to a chair and having people forcing it up his,
yes,
whatever, that he has let them all down horribly, every single one of them. And so, regardless of whether you think he's served his sentence of 21 days and should be allowed back in, as I've read from Hopsy himself, the classic Liberal case of Hopsy. I love you, really. I really do. that he served his time. Why shouldn't he be allowed to take place? Think of it from the other guy's point of view, in terms of what they have already been through. Go back to the Ashes, go back to the Bristol night, go back to what has been expected of them and asked of them, and say, you know, are you happy with this? Are you all right with one of your teammates deciding that it actually wasn't that important to think about the fact that there was a World Cup coming up, and that we'll just have a bit of fun on a night out and jeopardise everything that you guys are trying to do? And I would guarantee you there's not a single bloke in that dressing room would have an ounce of sympathy for him right now.